Father God, we come to you in the precious name of Jesus. We just ask for wisdom for the things that's on the agenda and the council business tonight. And we just thank you that the people are here to voice their opinion, but there will be decisions need to be made. So the stuff that we're going to be talking about is also getting other people on election on April the 9th. We just ask for wisdom for them to be vetted, that they would be team players that would come and work together and understand their part that they need to do. And also the purchase of a little Bobcat and trailer is needed to do the jobs around here. That's going to be. So we just thank you for the fire department, the surplus and the things that they have, and for the police. And I just want to again, say, give us wisdom as we work together as a team from each department, from the fire department to police, and the mayor, the vice mayor, and those that are on board, and, the finances and everything, and then the heart of the people. So as we come and say the Pledge of Allegiance to God, we thank you for that. In Jesus' name, amen.
Please.
Mayor John Eric Hoover.
Here.
Vice Mayor Linda Rodriguez.
Here.
Councilman Tom Kinsella.
Here.
City Attorney Nancy Meyer.
Here.
City Manager Matthew Kopler.
Thank you. First up is approved council minutes, and we have the town hall meeting minutes. The council minutes from last week will be on next agenda, I believe, right? So this is for the town hall meeting minutes. Look for a motion.
Motion to approve the minutes.
Second.
Motion second. All in favor, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Next up, comments from the general public. I do have 3 signed up. We'll start with Danny Fields. Welcome.
My address is 8114 Leo Kidd, and here in Port Richey. In Light of the World Tabernacle, that's the address I give because of the business there with the church. We do have free income tax prepared. If anybody's interested in that, you could go to UnitedWayPascos.org or call area code 727 number 845-3030 and get your taxes done. The professionals there. Bill is a part of that. He helps with stuff like that, so it saves a lot of money. They do excellent work. They do the pastor's work and all through the community, and it's free because that puts a lot of money back in your pocket, and you get top quality people to be able to do your taxes without having to go somewhere else and pay them a big fee. So there's a scan code on here if you want to scan for you guys yourself, or just call the church and or go to that website, and you'll be able to point people to that. That's why we give services to help out in the community, to pay back, and to be able to partner together with other people to bless them. So thank you for your service and everything you do.
Thanks, Danny. Next on the list, I have Chris Maher. Welcome.
Good evening, Mayor and Council. Thank you all so much for serving our community, first off. 5342 Blue Point Drive. Been here for about 8 years now. I've asked numerous times to have the traffic concrete circle at the end of our cul-de-sac removed. It has not been done yet. The last time I asked to have it removed, they came in and they fixed it and spent more money and time on it, and then the trash truck backed over it. And since then, there's no plants at all in there. It's just a hole in the ground. It's got a concrete structure. All the trash trucks, the moving trucks and everybody that pull in there, when they pull in, they end up landing in my front yard, which has destroyed my yard. It's destroyed the apron between the asphalt and my house, and that's got to be corrected. We got to, number one, everybody in the neighborhood's already said they're okay with things going away. We need to get rid of that circle and just asphalt it over. And there's a drain about 20 feet prior to the circle that is actually falling down in the ground. So every time you drive your car bottoms out. So that's got to be raised back up where it belongs. So if we can get those 3 little issues there, the circle, the drain, and then the caving in asphalt in front of my house taken care of, I'd greatly appreciate it.
Okay.
All right, thank you. All right.
ask about that. If you got an update, Matt, on it?
So I guess the question, as we were talking about it, was the feelings of all the residents around there. When you say that all the residents, they all say it's okay, or?
We talked to everybody on that street, and not one single person has even raised a minute of problem with it. It's actually in the way it's an eyesore for us. It's hard to go around it. Any trucks that pull in there, whether it's the trash truck or it's a moving company or anybody else delivering things, they literally can't make the turns. They end up in my front yard, my neighbors, they're destroying his new paver driveway. It's just a mess.
And I think staff agrees that it probably should be removed. Before we went out there, we just wanted to get verification that the residents were all in favor. We didn't want to have an argument here at council after it was already taken out that we'd have to go put it back in. But
Yeah, I wanted, Sal, if you would correct me, this has been going on for quite a while.
Yeah.
And I thought once upon a time, back when the city went out there and canvassed that circle, the neighbors, and my understanding of one of the meetings, again, going back, they were 100% all in agreement about.
We were going to canvas, but we that was one thing that we did not do. We didn't canvas everyone, each individual. So we can go forward with doing that. I know it wasn't this has been mentioned in council, but not like directed by council to move forward and do. But we can go forward and do that. The public works director has already been planning to remove it, if that's the case. He's already aware of the drain and that's already been slotted to be lifted. And the issue that you just mentioned about the washed out asphalt, we'll look into that too, but that's new. But council didn't give consensus as it being like an old business item to do something about that. It was mentioned to go ahead and go forward, and we'll go ahead and go forward with the survey and get that done. The letter and everything is prepared.
That one, apologized, literally fell between the cracks.
That's why I'm here tonight. Thank you all so much.
I was under the impression we were still working on that, so if you're all good with
I
it.
totally understand, not that I would just have the city verify, no offense,
Sure.
please.
No problem.
Everybody agrees, I believe they do, but so that, God forbid, anybody comes back and says no, that we have done that, but
Thank you so much.
That possibly.
yeah, we'd have to talk about that because we have a lot of it already committed. So I don't think it's a very large, Daryl, it's not really a large project, is it? Yeah, so.
I mean, the drain's the hardest thing. The drain has fallen substantially, and either you build it up a little bit and drop the concrete thing back, or the grate back on top, or I don't know how you raise it up or something like that.
Yeah, no, I don't think it's really that big of a.
Thanks, Chris.
Thank you all.
Next up, Pat Rogers, welcome.
Pat Rogers, 4838 Sunset Boulevard. First, I want to thank all the employees at the city for all the work they've done during all these different storms and flood tides. It's been a mess. And every Wednesday, starting February 14th at 6 p.m. at the Oasis Coffee Shop, there will be a 40 Days of Prayer event. It will go on at different churches and civic centers, but the Oasis is doing every Wednesday from February 14th until right before Easter, and it's 40 Days of Prayer, and it covers the whole world. We have prayers for every country, every continent, plus all of our local. So anything and everything that anybody needs prayer for, come out there and join us. And we have some music, and there will be coffee. It's the Oasis Coffee Shop at Little Road and Embassy Boulevard.
Thanks, Pat. That's all that's signed up. By show of hands, anyone else like to speak? Denise, welcome.
Denise McKenzie, 8225 Channel Drive. I just wanted to thank Mike and Mr. Doyle for the renewed attention to code infractions. Thank you.
Thanks. Show of hands, anyone else like to speak? Seeing none. Comments from City Manager, I'll pass that to Mr. Cobbler for his comments.
Thank you. Good evening, everyone. Short report tonight. First, back in 2021, the US EPA issued rule revisions on lead and copper that may exist within public water systems. The new rules will ultimately lead to public water systems and property owners replacing lead-impacted service lines. First, however, the rule revision requires community public water systems to create an inventory of all service lines within the system. So we've started that process. It's one that we have a completion date of no later than October 16th, 2024. The staff is going out and effectively digging up around the meter pits within the city system and also into the county areas that we provide service as well. We're also doing a review, discovery, as it were, of all the public records that we have that help inform us of where these lead service lines possibly could be. Effectively, anything that was installed prior to 1989 could be lead and is under the scope of what we're trying to do. There is a cost associated with this. Unfortunately, but fortunately, there may be money that's available through the Drinking Water State Revolving Loan Fund. It is a loan, but it's zero interest, so it could help in the cost of not only the discovery piece, but also ultimately the replacement piece. Because generally, my experience up north, when we're doing this, those cost anywhere from $5,000 to $10,000 per. So this is not going to be an inexpensive little thing that ultimately we're going to have to do. So getting money that again, no interest, and possibly get it up to 49% of it forgiven would be something very beneficial to our system. So we're going to be going through this process, seeing if we can qualify for money. Hopefully we'll be able to do that and see how this all goes. But as time goes on, we'll obviously keep council informed. And this will be a fairly significant item as we go into next year's budget. I'll be meeting this Friday with the city's planning consultant to discuss the scoping for the update to Port Richey's comprehensive land use plan. The update, of course, we talked a little bit about at the last meeting, is in regards to zoning requirements for the waterfront overlay. Because of the potential development that could occur there, we need to look at what density, what height, and some other factors that we are going to allow development within that overlay district. Or it may be that the residents feel that what we have there now is appropriate, and that's what we're going to go with. But as council said at the last meeting, we want to get it into the hands of the public and let them decide what the future of the waterfront is going to be. As part of this, we will make sure that there are plenty of opportunities for the public to put input into what that possible changes are in the future before we get a final recommendation coming to council. Related to that, as you know, we've talked about this. We still have two positions vacant on the Comprehensive Land Use Plan Committee, and this committee is effectively the steering committee for that endeavor that we're looking to undertake. So if we can get at least one more soon, it will help us to start that process as we go forward. And the last thing I wanted to talk about is I want to get on the calendar dates to begin the council visioning goal setting sessions. I would throw out there that we do this sooner rather than later. And I've put a few dates there looking at alternate weeks, so off council weeks, which the first one is a Tuesday, February 6th, and then Wednesday, February 7th, but it easily could be Monday, February 5th as well, or Thursday, February 8th. The second meeting, I'd be looking then 2 weeks later, and I put out there the 20th or the 21st, but again, that could easily be the 19th or the 22nd. But I'd like to get that set soon so we can get that in place and we can begin the planning process. And that's all I had. If you have any questions, I'd be more than happy to answer those.
I do have a question regarding the Comprehensive Land Use Committee. Are there any qualifications for people that they would need to meet to get onto that committee?
I think just have to be a resident of the city, if I'm not mistaken.
Thank you.
Okay, thanks, Mike. Next up, comments from Mayor, City Council. I'll start on my right with Councilman Casella.
Our city manager on the lead and the copper rule revisions. I'd like to have this added to our old business and some type of timeline that we can have a report on at least starting at a monthly basis. My concern is, the work is already being done. I don't know what the cost is costing the city right now. These funds that are available, how long does it last? What do we need to do? How do we anticipate? Whatever it takes to keep this moving along at the same time, having that opportunity to be part of this revolving loan fund and see whatever it takes and just stay on top of this. Because I think this is an impact on the city that obviously we weren't prepared for, but going forward, having this available, I think would help us tremendously.
Okay.
On the other part, for the council visioning goal setting, the February 6th and 7th, I don't have a problem with either one of those, Tuesday, Wednesday, don't care. On the other week, February 20th, me personally, I would prefer the 20th, if that's okay, with the rest of our council going forward. Other than that, I have nothing else. Thank you.
Thanks. As I pass over to Vice Mayor Rodriguez.
The Tuesdays work better for me. We did set up a Meet Your Neighbor for February 21st, the third Wednesday at 5:30 at Alex's. So that's all set. Would like to see y'all out there. And in the past, you've mentioned a couple times about meetings that you've gone with some residents and stuff at the dredging, but I've not heard any detail about those meetings. So I would really be interested in getting whatever information that you have gotten from those meetings. I would love for you to share that because that's very important to the city, and I've not heard any updates at all regarding any of those meetings. So I would really love to see some of that.
Sure.
Thank you.
Okay, so I just got a couple things. I'll keep it short tonight. Obviously, we just met last week, so and actually, I'll start with that. So, the last update that we had a meeting with kind of the ad hoc team, if you will, is Dave Mueller, Devin Aaron, Carl Roth from the Port Authority Board, a couple folks from Pasco, contacts as well as city manager. That was the last meeting we had, and we just kind of talked about the overall opportunity there for funding, different funding avenues, and kind of maybe the approach. I think we kind of covered it. Did you want to add something along those lines? Where we're at on it, I guess.
Yeah, I think one of the things that came out of that is a discussion on trying to put this into a discussion item for council. I mean, that's kind of, I think that particular meeting that I attended, there were a lot of different ideas, a lot of complex ideas. Knowing that anything that we do to manage the resiliency of the coastline and the estuaries is going to take a lot of money, and so and a lot of work. And I think as I am your resource, and I cost a lot of money, and I don't want to go down a road that you don't want me to go. And so, kind of in my mind, I've been trying to scope out, what it is that this is. What are the avenues that we can take? What monies are out there? What's the best course of action? And unfortunately, this is very complex because, it's stormwater. It's trying to ensure that, should the waters keep rising like they're predicting, how are we going to protect the land within the city that doesn't have water on it right now? And also those properties that are away from the water, are impacted by the storm as well. And so it really is going to have to be a comprehensive approach to do something. And that doesn't even address, our desires to, be good stewards of the environment and, help return and restore the estuaries to a part where, we do have all the great animals and fish and everything, birds around there. But I think it needs to come to council. And that's part of, I think, the goal setting that we need to do is kind of get an understanding of where council is coming from as it relates to all of those things. And then, you give us marching orders saying this is what we want to look at. But it's very complex. There's a lot going on. And I think the first part really is to get you all on board to give us direction.
Yeah. So more to come on that, and actually those visiting sessions, we'll probably talk more about how we should approach that particular problem.
One of the things I think is, I know a few years ago there was a presentation by Carl Roth from the Port Authority. I'll send that out. I think I promised you I'd send it out. I haven't yet. But I'll send that out to everyone so you can have it, because I think there's a lot of good information in that that kind of sets the stage for that.
And I don't remember, I was in the audience at the time, I wasn't up here, and I remember it being a lot of good information. I didn't have any, I was sitting there, so that would be really great.
Next thing I wanted to just comment on is regarding the Port Richey Chamber of Commerce. So that is very, very much underway now. You may see posts on Facebook. Ron has hired somebody to kind of work towards that and start networking. And so that's underway. Obviously the building's open, functional. Website's still kind of under construction to set up payments for membership and whatnot. So that's something that's going to come very soon. I think at some point here, very near future, we should make the formal announcement then in the city. We can talk about that at a later date. It'd be nice if we take a look at getting behind that and encouraging that. It's going to be definitely an asset to the city to have our own chamber that can facilitate a lot of things, events, whatever comes there, and actually and help grow the businesses around the area. So more to come on that, but I just want to say it's coming very soon, and I'll have more information. The last thing I have, I'm going to be in Tallahassee next week advocating for the city on a couple of items that we're looking to get some funding on that Matt's already submitted, as well as some of the legislation that's coming down that we'd be opposed to. So I'll be up there. So that's if anything you want me to share, let me know. That's all I had. Moving on to comments from the boards and committees. Do we have any board committees?
I didn't name it, that's all I had.
Okay. Okay, moving on to our agenda. So first up is consent agenda.
Motion to approve the consent agenda?
Second. Have a motion second for discussion. Anyone from the public like to comment? See no hands, I'll put to vote. All in favor, signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed? Motion carries. First up, item number 3, council member appointments. I'll pass that to Mr. Copper for introduction.
So as council is aware, you have a couple seats that need to be filled. At the last meeting, council set up today to have interested residents that are qualified to come forward and present to you their bona fides as to why they should be the next council member to fill those 2 seats. One of the things that we didn't really talk about at that point in time that I just want you to think about is that there does need to be a verification of 2 things that normally is part of the process. And so if we received information on those that and filled out the form, I think you have to fill out, right, for the verification. We can say that person is verified, but they haven't done that yet. We wouldn't be able to say that tonight until we had them fill out the form and did the verification. So I just wanted you to be aware of that as you go down. I think if you decide to appoint tonight, it would have to be with that caveat that they would have to pass the verification process.
My question on the verification process, how long would that take? Just ballpark?
Not long at all. I mean, it's the simple city of Port Richey form, just verifying your residency and your voter's registration.
There is a caveat to make sure, obviously, no felonies and stuff like that. That's a little bit more time, but it could be really quick and have everything sworn in. They could be sworn in not that long.
So by the end of the week, we could have this process all done, and then I'm just throwing this out as Monday, nothing on the agenda, do a swearing in Monday afternoon, early evening. So this way, those members will be prepared for the next meeting and have all that information.
Completely up to you guys, however you want to do it. Yeah, but that's enough time.
That's enough time?
So I know in the past, I think actually you were sworn in, they swore you in that night, I believe, that they did that. That would,
Hers, it was a
first you
little
got
different.
pre-vetted, I guess, is that?
It was a little different last time. Everybody had a deadline to meet in order to fill out the form that was submitted with the agendas for council to have. So they were already vetted before the meeting.
So do we have any vetted candidates that are?
I did have the gentleman that he did fill out the form, but again, it's not complete.
Okay.
It's just the form. There's a little bit more background that has to be done. Yes.
Okay. Is there, based on, I don't know who all we have. I know we have Cherokee Sampson, David Hester, Dave Mueller. Is that,
That's it. As far
that's
as I'm
only three
aware.
for tonight?
Yeah.
By show of hands, anybody else here to look for appointment to council? Besides those three? Bob, Hubbard? Okay, so we have four. So based on that, depending on who gets selected, is it possible to seat anybody tonight, or we need to have this separate swearing in? I don't know.
I would recommend a separate swearing in. Yes.
So you say Monday?
Yeah, again, giving the rest of the week for that vetting process. This way, there's no too much pressure, but then by the end of the week, we know who, and then make the announcement and have the swearing in on Mondays. That's what I'm recommending.
Pretty sure Monday's good.
Do you know what time Monday?
Oh,
no.
that's right. I'm glad you said that. No, I'm out of town. That's right.
I can recommend whoever you guys do choose, we can have a separate swearing in before the council meeting. I can make sure they're prepared to have a council agenda sent to them beforehand, swear them in, and then have the council meeting on the 13th. It's up to you guys.
They can get, well, this is all public knowledge anyway.
It's
so-
all
so
public,
yeah,
but
so-
yeah, they would
yeah,
have
that
one
would
sent
be
to
all right.
them.
So they-
Okay. Yeah,
so
well,
they
we just
would
wait
be
till the next
prepared.
meeting instead of doing a special one.
So we can still get the book to them.
Yeah.
Because all the information is public anyway, it's nothing secret in here, so.
Yeah.
So,
And as long as they're able to get the book and
I would
and
make
they
sure
be
that, yes,
prepared.
I would
Okay.
make sure they're prepared.
I have no
Yeah.
problem doing it
Yeah, that sounds better.
that meeting.
We
Yeah,
can
let's do that.
do the separate one and then go into.
Make that the first item, swearing in, and then see them. Okay.
It's like, usually we do it like 5 to 10 minutes before the meeting.
Yeah, that's fine.
Okay, so that being said, as far as how we want to do this, we've got the four here. I know in the past it was, everybody had some time, probably like 5 minutes, kind of it was allotted, if I remember correctly. I did like when we did the hiring city manager where the candidates were outside and we kind of interviewed individually. So what y'all's thoughts on?
I agree with that point.
No, that's optional. You can't make them go outside.
It's
Yeah,
optional, that's
right. They're
correct.
you can ask them to, but obviously they're
So-
open to be stay if they'd like.
Yeah, so the rationale behind it, in case you guys weren't here for the city manager interviews, is obviously we could ask the same questions to each candidate or whatever. Obviously, you're not required to, but I think all the candidates was okay with it. Basically, you go out in the foyer and we'll call you in. You'll have your time, and then we'll go through each one of the candidates, and then we'll come back and make a decision on that. Is that, by show of hands, is that okay with four of you guys? Cherokee, Bob, good, Bill, Dave? Okay. So I guess we're ready to roll. Okay, if you guys want to step out, if you're okay with that, and we'll, should we draw straws for, anybody want to go first?
Ashley, you want to roll the dice?
Yeah, Ashley, why don't you I'll let you pick.
Dave, you came back. I think they said.
Dave, you want to go first?
I think they picked one.
Mr. Mueller, you're first.
You're up. You're up.
First one to go.
There's another candidate named Dave.
Yeah. Yeah, it's 5 minutes, and then then we'll open up for questions.
Dave Mueller, 5439 Blue Point Drive. Thank you for giving me the opportunity to request and submit my name to this council. All of you probably know me very well and do. I'm not short for words, but I do appreciate the effort that this council makes toward trying to achieve the right answer. Speaking of which, my interest in the position centers around moving the city ahead. I like to see progress. I like to see things run efficiently. And I like to see good, sound business judgment. And I think those are some qualities that I bring to the table with my over 40 years of finance and accounting background in a Fortune 100 company. I'm excited about and encouraged about what this city has to offer. And I think with the right direction and the right effort, we've been moving in that direction. And I think we're right at the precipice of having the right people in place. And I would like to assume that I would like to be a part of that effort, trying to make this city move ahead. I've been a resident since 2018. My wife and I have been married for almost 37 years and have 3 children and a grandson. And he loves playing on the playground equipment down there. So that might be why I'm looking at the shade and having that in good repair. I don't want anybody to get hurt, especially a precious child like him. I'm an avid fisherman, scuba diver, and boater. I'm also a conservationist. I try to return to the water anything we catch that's not going to be consumed. And I'm a big safety advocate there. Over the summer, during scallop season, I actually rescued an individual that was separated from his boat. He was a young child, no life jacket on. He was crying. I heard him, and with that sea of boats out there, it's hard to understand where sound's coming from. I made no effort, or I made big effort to grab him, put him on our boat, give him a sandwich, and try to find out how to get him back on his boat. We called in a mayday, ended up getting the sheriff on the horn. They had the parents looking for this individual, and I gave them my lat lawn, and about an hour later, they showed up, okay? But bottom line is I'm always looking for things like that. I'm trying to be a person that helps rather than hurts, a person that can find a better way, make things run more efficiently. I regularly attend these council meetings. I've been doing that for about 5 years. And I'm currently on the CAC board. And that is a great place to begin an effort understanding what's going on in this community. And it's what it's done is opened my eyes to other individuals here that can add value and participate in a way that allows the ideas to come forward and potentially present to council. And I like where that has gone, and all 3 of you have come through the same process, and I'm in it now. I'm on the CAC board as well, and I think you can agree that it's a good process to learn how to work with the city and that kind of thing. I'm somebody that you can count on to follow up and show up and get the job done, and I would like your consideration for the interim position. In addition, I have submitted my application and just received it this afternoon, running for the open council seat for the 3-year term. And I'd appreciate any help you can do to help me get there. Thank you very much. Is there any questions?
Thanks, Dave. Open up for questions from the board.
I'm going to ask this for all of them, say anybody, Dave. So what is your vision for Port Richey? Not like the encyclopedia I heard.
Well, a lot of that centers around what's going on in the waterfront area. Certainly that is an area that drew me to the area. as well as the waterfront or the water. Granted, we have our problems. Tide and the silt level in the canals are a big-time problem, but it's manageable. And essentially trying to find some common ground there. How do you address that? I'd like to see something in the waterfront area that's going to be, in my vision, would be something like Mallory Square in Key West, and a waterfront boardwalk around behind the restaurants that people could come in and have their families and have dinner on the docks and that kind of thing. As far as other things that may not be as glamorous, I'd like to see things happen with our pipes, our sewer, our drainage especially, and try to look at rehabbing a lot of that, and just doing a level assessment and see, okay, how does it stand right now? Let's start with what is the condition today, and then try to apply logical decisions that would make our bang for the buck go a long ways, and try to achieve the repair of, and what I heard tonight is this issue of assessing copper and lead in the pipes. Well, that same issue goes with like the drain on our street, my street, the Blue Point drain there. I mean, it's collapsed. I mean, there's a lot of infrastructure that this city of almost 100 years needs to be addressed. And my big thing is how do we balance that between things that we need and things that we want, and how do we go about accomplishing that? And I think with a talent with our staff and being able to maybe search and find grants that would help minimize some of our cost, I think that would go a long way. Thank you.
Thank you.
Tom?
I have a few questions. Your personal opinion, Ms. Muir, what is the biggest issue or concern you currently see of the city?
Biggest issue. Well, I think there's a lot of, I think it's efficiency, personally. I think that as a city, there again, I come from a corporate world where if you're not efficient, you die, okay? The city has to be able to react quickly toward issues or concerns or emergencies. And they've done a great job doing the emergency part, but I think we can be much more efficient in the way we conduct ourselves in some of the utility areas and that kind of thing.
And how would you see, or how would you like the city to progress in correcting this? Your opinion again.
Yeah. Well, there again, that I think the council has made the right decision on hiring Mr. Koppler. I think he's making a level assessment of strengths and weaknesses across the organization, and potentially find out who's in the right job, putting people in the right job with the right skill set, and try to achieve that. And that certainly is a management role that I've seen in the past, and I believe that Mr. Koppler, with his experience, understands that and really is moving in that direction.
And one of the things, and again, we see you just about every council meeting, many times very critical. How would you change where you'll be a working partner going forward if elected?
Well, with regard to being critical, there again, my background is corporate. I was raised in a military family. My father was a major pilot flying F-4s. It was my way or the highway, okay? I understand that there is two schools of thought on that. Essentially, trying to achieve a good balance. I know that I can charge ahead. and sometimes ruffle feathers. But potentially, the numbers, and there again, my background is finance and accounting. I'm a retired CPA. The numbers tend to speak for themselves, and they ought to be supportable. A business case ought to stand on its own merit. It's not something that I want this and I want that, and should come up with a logical set of statements that would reference why a particular item is being spent. And as a role which I advocate on most occasions, I'm from a resident standpoint, I want to see my money spent wisely. And that's pretty much it. And as a council, you guys also have that duty, if you will, to ensure that we spend our funds in a wise manner, and it should be supportable. And we ought to ask and answer those questions. And I tend to ask a lot and answer questions in that area. So, I mean, you know me. It's not like this is any secret. But to the extent that would be sitting on the council, potentially might have different information coming to me other than where I sit, and certainly with more information, that's the key to any good decision, is to have the right information available. So would like to have that. Yeah.
Thank you very much, sir. So my question, Dave, obviously, it's got a couple. I'm going to ask them all candidates. Is the first one is, if you could change one thing with City of Port Richey, only one, what would be that?
Only one. I don't know. I'm a big water advocate. I would like to see some work done on the stormwater runoff in the canals and eliminate that to the best of our ability.
Okay. And then the last part I have is, as you sit up here, and obviously you've been out there, it's important, obviously, we even people that support us and don't support us, we represent all citizens of Port Richey.
Right.
And so I think it's very important as you sit up here that that your mind is open. And so I asked the question, do you feel like you can be open-minded on things? Obviously, we all think certain ways. And as we have discussions up here amongst ourselves, my hope would be that I have colleagues that as I bring things forward, that and I reciprocate that we all collaborate together and we try to make a consensus decision, and we put all prior notions aside and we have open minds and actually have good discussions about how we move forward for the residents, all residents, not necessarily the ones that support us, but all the residents that we represent. Do you feel that you're open-minded, or do you feel like you're more closed-minded on policing things?
I am open-minded. A lot of times when I'm talking from this position here, I'm not necessarily presenting my opinion alone. I'm presenting an opinion that might have been conveyed to me from my neighbor or somebody else in the community about things that don't even impact me, but something that I see has been missing, and I feel it incumbent upon me to at least bring it up for discussion so that we can have an honest discussion and hopefully have a resolution that'll produce good results.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
Anything else for the board? All right, thanks, Dave.
Thank you, Dave.
Who's go next? Just pick. But you could ask them, whoever wants to go first, doesn't matter. Hi. Welcome, Cherokee.
Hello.
So probably we're going to give 5 minutes. You can talk about yourself and whatever you have prepared, and then after that we'll have questions.
Okay.
My name is Cherokee Elise Sampson. I'm originally from Galax, Virginia, hence the accent. I moved to Germany when I was 18 years old. I lived over there for 8 years, and that's where I got extensive knowledge while working in hotels, gastronomie, as it were, casinos. I managed casinos, hotels, all kinds of different things. So I have extensive background with the public, having to speak to the public at events and et cetera. I also started when I came back to the United States, I started working for the German American Chamber of Commerce up in Minneapolis, Minnesota. I was able to facilitate a lot of different haven't spoken in a long time. I was able to facilitate a lot of different transactions, if you will, with local government, state government, and world government. So I also speak multiple languages, German, French, Italian, and a little bit of Spanish. I understand it more than I speak it. And I have 3 kids, so I'm a very good manager when it comes to my time. Twin boys and a little girl. I was homeschooled as a child, and I think that was really important because it made me interested. My mom made me interested in politics, so I actually studied political science and history in college. Politics has been on my mind since I was 8 years old. It's something that I hold very near and dear to my heart, as well as helping the community. So I'm also the chapter leader of the Power Gals networking group here. They empower women, and I've been doing that since last August. I am very I also started working for the Port Richey Chamber of Commerce. I'm the director of the Port Richey Chamber, so all the Facebook posts, that's me. I'm very fluent in social media and marketing design. I also can do a little bit of IT work, such as building websites or working with HTML and et cetera, which might be interesting for the website for the city of Port Richey. I've been living in Port Richey for about 4 years with my husband. We moved down here from Minnesota because it's just too cold up there. And Port Richey's my home. I'm raising my kids here. You know, I want to do something that's going to be impactful to the community. I love working with people. I love working with charities. Right now with Power Gals, we're actually holding a fundraiser for 2 Girl Scouts who sent me a letter in the area. And yeah, any questions?
Sure.
That was a lot in a few seconds.
We'll follow the same cadence.
What is your vision for Port Richey?
For me, Port Richey, tourism, bringing more people to the city so that we are able to do more for the citizens. If we have more people working, more people coming to the city, maybe there's a way that we could lessen the tax impact on the citizens here. I also believe in cleaning up the city as well. I think that there's a lot of as far as trash and stuff goes on the city roads and et cetera. And, you know, I even myself walked up and down my street, you know, picking up trash and stuff. So I would like to form some kind of some kind of committee or something to specifically help Port Richey when it comes to that. And also working with the local governments and state governments to try to clean up our waterways and do as much as we can to preserve it as well. Mm-hmm.
Your opinion, what is the biggest issue, concern you currently see with the city of Port Richey?
Say that again.
What is your biggest concern, issue that you currently see with Port Richey?
I feel like we can do a lot more to help our citizens. Our citizens, in my personal opinion, don't really have that much of a voice. I think because maybe they don't know that they can come to city council and speak. It's a new thing, I believe, the town hall meetings. So I think that getting the citizens involved is the biggest issue for Port Richey. We need their help. We need to work with each other, and that requires reaching out to our citizens and facilitating a relationship with them.
Why do you feel that concern? How did you come to that?
Just watching I watched the past 2 years of city council meetings, and I feel like a lot of the citizens' concerns, maybe not all of them, but probably 40 to 45% of citizens' concerns remain unaddressed. And there's also, I'm in all kinds of different groups, Port Richey and beyond, on Facebook, I know social media, but they voice their concerns there, and it doesn't seem like there's a lot of, a lot of people trying to fix the issues that the citizens are raising. They just seem to talk amongst themselves instead of bringing it to council. So maybe there should be a way to facilitate a relationship directly with the citizens.
If elected, how would you correct this?
I would go out there every single day if I had to, start helping create events. I'm also an event planner. I've managed galas. I've created town events, city events, and I'm very... Working with people is my passion, and so I feel like I would be able to go out into the community and, encourage people to voice their opinions and encourage people to come to city council and be able to be more of a voice out in the public at events, at networking meetings, and et cetera.
Thank you.
Mm-hmm.
The two questions I had, Cherokee. First one is, if there was only one thing that you could change with the city of Port Richey, what would it be?
If there was one thing that I could change with the city of Port Richey, it would definitely be, or it would most likely be, what I was just talking about. The citizens of Port Richey, they deserve to have a bigger voice, and I think that is one of the biggest issues, is connecting with the public and making sure that they're involved in every decision that the council makes and every decision that the city of Port Richey makes. And I believe that that's extremely important. That should come first, in my opinion, citizens.
Okay. And the last question I have is, as you sit up here, it's important to have an open mind. Obviously, you're going to represent people who support you and people who don't support you. And so it's important that we all listen, and that as we talk about action items, as they come to us, what I hope for and I try to do is to have an open mind. And as we have these discussions, that I bring something to the table or Tom brings something to the table, we all collectively listen to that, and actually we should be open-minded that we can change our mind if we didn't see something the way somebody else saw it. But it's a collaborative effort. And what I want to make sure is that we have people sit up here that have that type of mentality, not just come up here with agendas and closed-minded. So I ask you that: are you open-minded about decision making? Are you kind of set in your ways on certain things? How would you describe your position?
I'm very open-minded. I'm a team player. When I worked at hotels and casinos, I would always gather the entire staff, even if they didn't want to, and have collaborative meetings to try to figure out, what would be the best way to do certain things in the hotel or the casino. Like, I don't know, if there's drunk people at a casino, how best to handle that situation. And input from every single person is valuable. So I'm extremely open-minded, and I would do my best to work with every single member on the board and with the citizens to try to come to the best conclusion.
Okay. Thank you.
Mm-hmm.
Anything else? No? All right. Thank you. Bob? So what we've been doing is we give 5 minutes to kind of tell us a little about yourself and whatever you want to share, and then after that we'll ask questions.
There's not that much to say, but I'll introduce myself. Robert Hubbard, 7515 Grand Boulevard. Just here to introduce myself, and would like to welcome myself if you'd have me on the board, here to help you move the city forward. I've got several decades of business experience. I've been a resident here in the city for about 40 years. I know a lot of people. I can help assist you in getting things done the right way, move the city forward for just the citizens and citizens only. That's about all I have to say.
Linda?
Hi.
What is your vision for Port Richey?
Well, I'd like to see bring in more money from the outside in to help with taxes so it's not such a burden on the residents. Help with the budgeting and make sure that the money's spent correctly. And like I said, in a positive manner so the city can grow financially and it can relieve a burden on the citizens. But I'd also like to applicate a tax implementation to where we can, any taxes get raised from the residents, all the revenue will stay in the city. Right now, we're paying, of course, like anybody else residents, it goes towards schools, Pasco County, state, and so forth. And if any increases take place from the day we make that motion, all the taxes that are imposed will stay in the city, and that would help the city also with finances.
How would you said bring money to the city, how would you,
Well,
one question, just an idea, how would you go about that?
Well, we have a beautiful area, a waterfront, the landings and waterfront park and such as we can have festivals, and as long as we allocate parking for people, which is a big criteria, I think we can bring a lot of revenue from all over the area. I got a business here and people come from all over now, bring revenue into the city. I think we can do a lot more with that. And I think it could increase the revenues a lot to help us with everything here we have that need to be done in the city. Okay.
Tom?
Well, what is your opinion, what is the biggest issue, concern you currently see with the city of Port Richey?
Well, I think the biggest thing with the biggest thing with the city is a statewide problem, even a national problem. We have drugs and homelessness. That's a big problem. There's a lot of little issues that need to be settled with infrastructure. And there's funding for that. The state is willing to help with some of that. That needs to be taken care of. Those are also issues. If the city is going to grow healthily, our infrastructure needs to grow with it. And we need to pay close attention to that and take whatever help we have to help us do that. And again, don't put all the burden on residents. But, I mean, homelessness and drugs is a big problem, and infrastructure.
You know, so a couple things that you just mentioned, of course, it's countywide, it's statewide, national, but for the city of Port Richey, how are you justifying those comments for the city of Port Richey?
Talking to residents and I've been here for a long time, we've had a lot of issues before that we have resolved. We still have a little bit more work to do, and a lot of the residents here, you talk to them, and this is the problem that they tell me, that they have a problem with the water, sewage, homelessness, drugs. You know, it may not be as bad as some towns, but this is what the people have been telling me. And that's, I believe, is the top concerns that we have that can be addressed, as like I was telling you, that we can bring more revenue into the city from outside. It can help us with those things.
And if elected, how would you go about these issues?
Well, working with state and county leaders to help us do that.
Okay, thank you.
Mm-hmm.
And I'll get two questions. First one is, if you could only change one thing in the city of Port Richey, what would it be?
I put speed bumps in front of my house.
And then my second question, as you set up here, it's important to have an open mind, and it's also important to remember that you're not only supporting or you're not only representing the people that are for you, you're also representing people that are against you. And so, the question I have is, are you open-minded, or are you more kind of set in your ways, closed-minded, how you feel about things? And the reason I answer that is, like I said, it's as you sit up here, it's important to take all these individuals up here, what they have to say, because they represent different areas of the community and they know different things. And what we want to have is a collaborative decision-making process, where not one side or the other, but we all come together and we make collaborative decisions. So I ask you, do you have an open mind? Is that something that you think you are able to do, or are you or closed?
Absolutely, and that's what I was opening with, here to represent all the citizens, to take the burden off all the citizens, make this a city that all the citizens can be proud of. And everybody has different ideas on that sometimes. They bring it in here so we can hear what those ideas. I write everything down. I acknowledge everything. Some things may work, some things may not, some things may work better than other things. And working with other people is how you get those things figured out correctly.
Thank you.
That it?
That's all we got.
Thanks.
Yeah, one more? Thank you. So just let you know the format. So we're going to give you 5 minutes.
I was just going to make this really easy since I've got, I heard you guys talking about doing like the swearing in, and then I know I'm going to be gone the next 2 weeks because of scheduling conflict there. I was just going to go ahead and bow out.
Okay.
And make it easy so you got 3 really good people, so choose one of them.
Right.
2 of them, rather.
Sure. Thank you.
All right, thank you.
And thank Okay. Before we bring them back in, well, actually, let's bring them back in. That's probably better that way. Go ahead, bring them back in. Yep, and we'll discuss how we're going to pick, and then if we need to send them back out or ask them to go back out, we can, or whatever. And so let's bring y'all back in so we're going to discuss how we're going to move forward. So in the past, when I was privy to this and Linda we selected, I know that the council took a vote. I think the 4-1 passed it down. It was kind of tallied. Also, we've got 2 to select out of 3. So I just want to get your guys' opinion on how you want to do that. If you want to do something similar to that, or if we just want to have a discussion amongst ourselves here with them in the room.
Nomination.
I think charter basically says we nominate.
Yeah,
So-
I don't think it was a paper ballot.
Well, that's how it was in the past. That's why I bring it up. So
I mean, you could do your vote by paper. Obviously, it would be public record. You could keep it, you
Right.
sign it. It wouldn't be anything secret, but or you could do it verbally. There's no.
yeah, and so I'm open for however you guys think might be the best way
But
to.
someone needs to make the nomination and put that forward.
So do you just want to do nominations and then go from there, or do you want voting out?
I don't have a preference. Do you have a preference?
I don't have. Okay. Well, I can actually go first. I appreciate all of y'all's interest in a position. I think all y'all would be great additions to the council. I would like to nominate Dave Mueller, and the reason for that nomination, obviously, he's very active in the community, serves on the CAC board. He's in the weeds, so he's ready to rock and roll. And so I think that's adds value to the process here. There's little ramp up time. I think he'd be a great addition to the council. So I'd like to nominate Dave.
I will second that.
Second. I can second that motion.
You did. You just seconded it.
What? I can't make a
Oh.
motion. So he
He's nominating because he can't make a motion, so he's
Oh,
discussing.
Oh,
So
okay.
then-
So,
Then
excuse
I'll
me.
go
I-
ahead
make a
and
motion,
make a motion, Mr. David Mueller.
and I'll second that motion. So I have a motion, a second, further discussion. Anyone from the public like to speak? Seeing no hands, I'll put the vote. All in favor, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Welcome, Dave. So we have one more seat to fill. Hope for nominations for that.
I'd like to nominate Cherokee. She's new to the area. She's young. She's got a lot of innovative ideas. So I would like to nominate Cherokee Sampson.
I'll second that motion as well. So we have a motion, a second. Any further discussion? Seeing no hands, I'll open public comment. Anybody like to speak? Seeing no hands, I'll put the vote. All in favor, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed?
Nay.
Motion carries. Welcome, Cherokee. So we have our 2 appointments, Dave Mueller and Cherokee Sampson. Congratulations. We'll have a swearing in at the next council meeting. You guys will be I guess, delivered the materials as well. There'd be a vetting process, obviously. Did you have a question, Dave? Go ahead.
He just couldn't stop.
And I'd like to point out that this is the last time we'll hear 5439 Blue Point Drive for a while.
Can we give him 3 minutes?
5439 Blue Point Drive.
Yeah, when you're up here, you only get 3 minutes.
We'll keep that in mind. I will be out of town that week. I'll be leaving on Tuesday morning at 7 a.m., so I could do 7 a.m., but I'm not going to be in attendance at that particular meeting. I've got a previous engagement. It's hot. It's
Make a note here because I know I actually went to
Valentine's week, remember, and if you got somebody you're supposed to be sweet on, that's the time. Thank you.
So I know both Dave and Cherokee are pre-filed for the election. So
They are.
is that,
It's completely up to you guys.
I mean, is that vetting enough that, because that's filed as the Office of Elections. I mean, we
It
can
is.
technically do the swearing in
It
today,
is,
don't we?
yes. It's just a little bit different when you have people that are not running, so it's completely up to you guys.
But the vetting is not completed yet.
Well,
They've pre-qualified. They haven't, not everything has been checked. They haven't gone through all of the paperwork, but there's still a couple more things that should be done.
okay.
Just to,
I think we need to follow the rules.
yeah.
Well, no,
So, yeah, I'm just saying,
know.
I don't think we need to start bending them.
No, I'm not looking to bend them. I just, we can't do it. We can't do the swearing in if you can't be
It's
here.
the
So
simple, City of Port Richey, how long they've been there, but a couple of things need to be checked.
Okay.
It's very simple. I can send that via email to them tomorrow morning first thing. They can send them back and be done. We can do Cherokees on the 13th. We can have days the following meeting. It's up to you guys, however you want to do it. I can still send him the agenda via email so he's up to date.
you want to get together? How long do you need to vet the two?
I can have it done by the end of the week.
So can we have it swearing in on Friday? Maybe.
Okay.
Well, we can have the one swearing in for Cherokee at the next meeting, and then the following meeting, we could then do Dave.
Because he's not going to be here anyway, so
Yes.
it's whether he's sworn in or not.
Oh,
it's
yeah,
not going to be.
that's true.
Yeah.
He's not going to be at the meeting, so.
Oh, well, that makes sense. Yeah, we can just do that. We'll
But
swear
I can
Cherokee
still
in.
send him the meeting so he's aware
Sure.
of everything.
Oh, and he knows how to get it, don't worry.
Yeah, so we'll swear Cherokee in the 13th before Megan and Dave on the next. That makes sense. Okay. Good. Moving on. Item number 4, appointment of members to boards and committees. I'll pass it to Mr. Kirk. Go ahead. Okay.
Both of those young people, you're welcome, are on CAC. So,
That's correct.
that means that would be 3 people on the CAC, so I don't think that by charter is
So the-
allowed only one person.
The charter, basically, my understanding is charter says they can't make up a quorum. I believe Dave was going to pass on his. Were you still going to want to stay on CAC or no?
Well,
So, Cherokee, are you wanting to stay on CAC as well, or?
Well, I think, what Linda just said, I mean, I can definitely step down, so if there's only one member.
Okay.
yeah,
I'm sure check on that and see what.
No rush to do it.
Yeah, my understanding is as long as council members don't make a quorum, it's okay. So, but we can cross that bridge as that comes.
okay, I'm sorry, I just wanted to bring that up, so.
Good thing to point out. We'll verify it. Thank you.
Yeah, no, I appreciate that. Item number 4, appointment of members to boards and committees. I'll pass it to Mr. Copper for introduction.
For city council considerations, appointment of Mayor John Eric Hoover and Denise McKenzie to the Comprehensive Land Use Planning Committee. This nomination will add 2 more to the board, including existing members, city manager Matthew Koppler and city resident Todd McClary.
I'll open up for discussion and or motion.
I have one question. Denise, was there another committee you were put on that, I thought?
She's alternate for PNC.
Also, is there any problem with
No.
being on those? Okay.
You
Both committees. I just wanted to make sure that we weren't.
Yeah, you can only serve on one board, but you can serve on multiple committees, I believe. That's correct.
Okay.
You know these people maybe because you've been on.
Yeah, we're really putting you to test on it, aren't we?
That's right. Okay, that's good.
I just want to make sure that we're okay that having the same person on two different.
Yeah, I believe-
It's not a conflict of decision-making, so I just want to make sure.
Yeah, no, Lisa Burke serves on both. I think Lori Simpson actually
Yeah,
serves.
she's done a comprehensive, what is she?
Not on that committee. So Lisa Burke's on planning and zoning, she's on CAC, so. And CLUP is a committee.
She'll look and let us know.
All right.
We'll move on and then we'll come back to that.
You mean you want to table it?
No, I don't want to.
I'm just- you
give
can
her
keep
10
going, I'll
minutes,
read
move
and
on
I'll-
to the next item and then go back to.
Okay, so we'll
You know what I mean? Like instead of sitting here staring at.
yeah, so we can table item number 4 for a brief moment. We'll move on to number 5. First reading of ordinance number 24-694, calling for a special election on April 9th, 2024 to fill a vacancy on the city council. Guess I need to pass that to
I need to read real quick.
Ms. Meyer for her.
That's all right. Sorry. Wait, we can
her reading.
multitask. We're gonna get it done. Ordinance 24-694, an ordinance of the city of Port Richey, Florida, calling for a special election on April 9th, 2024, for the purpose of filling a vacancy on the city council, identifying that the April 9th, 2024 special election will be conducted by Pasco County Supervisor of Election, providing for a repeal of ordinances or parts of ordinance in conflict herewith to the extent of such conflict, and providing for an effective date.
Motion to approve ordinance number 24-694.
As
For
the
the
first
special
reading.
election.
As the first reading.
What?
As the first reading.
As the first reading.
I second.
Have a motion second, further discussion? Anyone from public like to speak? Seeing no hands are put to vote, all in favor signify by saying aye.
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 Opposed? Motion carries. Next up is item number 6, recreational vehicle parks and planned unit development district. I'll pass it to Mr. Cropper for introduction.
Thank you. As council's aware, we've been working to make changes that would be necessary to the city code to allow for a recreational vehicle park in the A1 zoning district, since that use does not currently exist. Originally, we were talking about just adding language to say that recreational vehicle parks could exist in that particular zoning. But as we started to look more into it, and I met with the landowner and developers, it became clear that it was really more than just a recreational vehicle park. There were going to be other uses that, again, would need further review and would have to be also made eligible in there. We kind of took a step back and looked at what the options for the city would be to be able to, ensure that there are a good set of land use standards for such a development, protecting the surrounding neighborhoods as well as the city in general, but also still allow for, again, a good development to occur within the parcel of land that they were looking to do that. So what we came up with was the idea of creating, in addition to the planned unit development district, that would allow for recreational vehicle parks. One of the benefits of doing this is it allows council ultimately to make some decisions that again may not fit nice and neat into any particular section of the code, but it will allow you to make those decisions to have those things occur. And again, that happens whenever you have a planned unit development. For instance, a developer may want to build something in a way that doesn't necessarily conform to all the regulations in the underlying district, but you can allow certain waivers that would occur so they could make those developments happen. So what you have before you is staff's first draft at achieving the goal of allowing those recreational vehicle parks in the city. As you go through it, let me, step back. The underlying model for this was actually a code that is in Crystal River, Florida. And we were able to modify it as it relates to our planned unit development and some of the different requirements we have within our codes as well, so it would work for the city of Port Richey. I'm not going to go line by line with this, but I wanted to point out some of the areas that we think are very important. So, and we want to make sure you think about as we go forward. So, for instance, under the standards, we're looking at a maximum density of 8 recreational vehicle spaces per gross acre.
Again?
8 per gross acre.
Per gross acre. Okay, thank you.
Obviously, anytime you put the limitations on a maximum density, you're doing that. One, make sure that you're not overcrowding the use of the land, so you don't, again, maybe have disincentive for the particular use to be successful. You also do that to prevent, a lot more traffic than what is accessible through the property as well. So again, density is not necessarily something that you want to allow too much in any particular area. However, from our standpoint, the PUD, depending upon the area that it would be in, the maximum density for a residential unit, which would be different than this, is a lot larger, almost double that. But again, we think from the standpoint of making sure that it's not overcrowded, it becomes a burden to the resources around it, roads, water, sewer, anything like that. We felt control and density is very important. The other piece on this, in the particular standards, is we want to make sure that there is a level of development there. What we don't want to see is large vehicles parked in mud. And that just creates some health concerns that may be within the district or within the area that could cause issues. And for instance, because we always like to have the worst case scenarios, is we occasionally get large storms that produce a lot of water, and trying then to evacuate an area that is very saturated and getting large vehicles out, you wouldn't want to be trying to pull those out in the mud. So you definitely need, as part of the standards, a way that would prevent those type of emergent situations from happening that would then start consuming potentially city resources to rescue or try to prevent the future. Dimensional standards, again, we try to create minimums, not maximums, so we don't have, again, overcrowding or poor situations. I know one of the things that I received from the developer of potentially this land, they have some concerns about the waterfront jurisdictional wetland setbacks. Again, we don't necessarily have a hard and fast rule for this particular, because it would be the first use within the city, but we did have to come up with some standard to start with. So this is an area that we wanted to think about potentially less of a setback. I think, it could be entertained. We just have to look at that a little bit more. But generally, this is to make sure that, you're not doing development too close to a wetland or a body of water that could adversely impact that body of water. I think the way that Crystal River kind of interpret this is that think of a river that might run through the property, and if that was controlled by the city in some way or the county, they would not want development to be occurring too close to the waterway. That may lead to a lot more trash going into it, or dirt, or whatever that might negatively impact the waterway as it goes through the property and goes continuing down the route the river is taking. Again, understand, as with all of our PUD, a lot of these things could be changed when it got to the city council level for final approval. I think another big part of this is that, we want to see a well thought out plan as it comes to you, because again, this particular development, just in some of the different areas, ideas they're going to be presenting, it's important that they think through how it's going to interact so they don't have future or issues down the road. And we want to make sure that they've thought through the issues before it gets here. So if there are any questions that come up through the process, they'll be able to address it. So again, that's another reason for the standard. Another area that I think that we could talk about, however, it wasn't raised as an issue, at least not yet by the developers, is including camping sites. Because again, that's kind of what started thinking away from just adding RV parks to the code itself, is that they do have the desire to have tent camping and potentially raise cabin, tree houses, I guess, there. So there's different ideas. So in here, we put in a section related to campsites, and we effectively chose one campsite per designated recreational vehicle. Again, I think that's something if council wants to adjust that, or when we get to the planning commission later this week and discuss it with them, they may want to adjust that as well. I think that's, again, not a hard and fast rule from our standpoint. But again, we don't want too much overcrowding occurring within the site either. Landscape and buffering, within, most of the districts, the city does require a buffering of the uses, especially when it's a commercial use, and especially if there's a commercial use close to a residential use. So we tried to make that consistent with what the PUD currently says, as well as what the buffering rules and other areas of the city code are there as well. Roadways, internal roadways, we want to make sure that not only can their users of the park be able to traverse the park properly without having issues, but from our perspective, the real issues are our emergency services for police and fire, as well as medical. A lot of what we do is make sure we can get our equipment in and out without causing damage either to their property or to our equipment. So this is something, especially where it relates to like no cul-de-sacs, no dead ends. We don't want to have to get fire equipment in there and have to try to back out pieces of large equipment like that without damaging anything. It's just a lot easier if you can navigate without any dead ends or cul-de-sacs. However, I think in staff talking about this issue, there could easily be situations where a dead end is acceptable. And so we want to leave that potentially open. So this language may evolve a little bit before it gets to the final product the next meeting. Really, that's, again, I think the major pieces of other than utilities and like the roadways, where we state that the roadways, internal roadways are 100% owned and maintained by the developer. As it relates to the utilities, internal utilities, those also from our perspective should be owned and managed and maintained by the developer as well. I think we get into a very poor position as a city, especially in our utilities, if we have to go into a facility like this and try to maintain water lines or sewer lines. And what I've seen in other developments, maybe not RV parks, but in other developments, those usually are owned by the developer. That's kind of where we're at right now. The process, as I may have mentioned, it goes to planning and zoning on Friday. We should get final comments by then, and we'll finish putting this into the proper form to go forward if council today sees what they want to see and thinks this is worth proceeding. If you don't wish to do that, you can also tell us that and save a lot of work.
I have a couple questions real quick. Number one, you covered a little bit about the fire department, and I'm hoping that we've had our fire department address this, making sure that they agree with this. I do know that when it comes to travel trailers, RVs, with the gasoline, the propane, things go up real quick. and having the fire department have the adequate tools they need, the fire hydrants, whatever else they need. I'm hoping our fire department is involved in this process and help making these plans.
So as with any site plan that comes through the city, the fire department will be a part of that process to review it. And again, from this perspective, what you're doing is kind of setting the guidelines for what has to be in the plan. When it actually gets to a site plan approval process, that's where, the fire department would be counting the fire hydrants and where they're at and, how they're going to be serviced and all those things. At this point, in preparing the ordinance, they wouldn't be normally that involved with it. But it's something that when we get to an actual ordinance, obviously we'll make sure that they've reviewed it. Because one issue actually we saw earlier today relates to fires within there. And, we weren't really satisfied with that language. I know the building official reached out to the fire chief, and now I have what our general orders are for open fires that we'll try to work in, make sure that we cover that. So
Perfect. And how long has Crystal River had this plan? Just an idea.
I don't know if I had that written down here. Boy, that's really small language. Can you read that? What that
I
is?
can. Created 2023, 9/15, but I think it's when it was actually.
Yeah, I'll check on that to be sure. I'm not sure.
And also, have we or can we reach out to Crystal River? I do know anytime something's brand new is put in place, once it's there, you realize we should have done this and not this. Can we reach out to Crystal River and see what changes they wish they would have made to make it right the first time around and learn by their mistakes?
Definitely.
Just a recommendation. That's all. Thank you.
And on that, Tom, I would think that would be iterative process when they put this out, that they probably made changes because they have the ability to do that, obviously. So I'm assuming that it's probably up to date. Good. I had a couple of things I wanted to point out within here, just questions, I guess. First one on the density and layout, when it talks about the 8 recreational vehicle spaces, that seems rather anemic to me. I did some research, and I think a rule of thumb, it says 10 to 15 per gross acre. Of course, that obviously depends on the size of the rigs and whatnot. So I think, 8 seems like it might be a little too low. 10 probably is a better number, but I think it'd be better to see kind of take an acre lot, kind of put some RVs in there, kind of the biggest ones, just kind of see what spacing that is. It's hard to think about how 8, 10, 12 look in an acre to me without seeing a drawing. And, maybe 8 really is the right number, because it would be too close if you had 10. It's hard to visualize that without having some kind of thing. If we could maybe draw some similar up to kind of get a visual of what that looks like. But 8 does seem a little anemic, and I think it's based on what I've read that seems a little low. The other thing I wanted to point out, obviously on the setbacks of the 25 feet from the water, obviously in a situation where you're on a river or something that can quickly flood and whatnot, you want to be a good distance from that. This particular property, it's lakes. I don't. You guys, does it? When we have really heavy rains or anything, does the water level change on that over there? I don't think it does it?
No, sir.
It's not like pouring into it. So really, you got a pretty steady water level within that body of water. So 25 feet might be a little too far in a case like this. So I think.
Would that be determined by Swift Mud or the other regulatory agencies?
I would. The building official shaking his head yes.
Yes.
Yeah. I mean, that to be honest, that's kind of the other piece of all this, is understanding that there are other regulatory bodies that are going to be reviewing this. Besides Swift Mud, the county health department will be involved.
Yeah.
So there's other individuals that could come back with a different requirement through that approval process.
Can we get what that, I guess, minimum distance would be in a case like that, just to see if maybe it is 25 feet. I don't know. I think 25 feet's not ridiculous, but it may be a little far. And then on the internal roadways circulation, item B, internal roadways and parking aisles shall be paved and adequately designed to facilitate easy turning movements for recreational vehicle traffic. When we talk about paved, are we saying it has to be blacktop paved, or can that be gravel? I'm assuming when we talk about paved, my understanding of the law, paved doesn't necessarily mean pavement.
I have never researched what paved is in legal sense, but that.
I want to say we have some other code that defines that, but.
My computer's died. I'm sorry, I can't look it up.
Okay. So if we can get a clarification on that, because obviously we don't necessarily, I don't think we necessarily want to keep gravel roadways. I mean, they're perfectly viable to use, especially in a campground type thing, as opposed to actually putting permanent pavement structure in there that you might end up tearing up later or whatever. I think
Well,
maybe.
you also have to remember that we have fire and police that need to go in there.
Sure.
Fire's got big rigs, and if you're gonna put gravel in there in a marshy area that's possibly wet, you're gonna get our fire truck stuff, so.
No, and I agree. I think
I think that would need to go to our
I agree with that.
friends.
Right,
That-
yes.
I think we're getting a little bit too detailed right now for that.
Well, and I just want to bring these things up for discussion. I mean, they are detailed in here. And when we put this obviously out, we're going to be restricting or whatever. So we want to get that right, obviously, so we have to go back. Obviously, the spaces themselves, it actually, I think it points out they can be gravel or suitable for parking on. The roadways, maybe we do want to require those be paved. I don't know the answer to that, but I'd like some due diligence, I guess, to look on that. Then on the signage, it was one identification sign shall be allowed at the recreational vehicles park entry and exit. Said sign should comply with applicable city sign regulations. I just want to make sure I'm reading that. So are we saying it's one sign per entry and exit, or is that for the? I would think, and depending on how far the entrances are apart, you'd want a sign at every entrance. If there was two drive-through or whatever, like say they come in on Congress and they go out on Ridge, you wouldn't want just one sign. You want it marked both places. So I want to make sure it wasn't saying it kind of.
Yeah, so this I think may have talked about, we talked about that earlier, right? So we were talking about having the one sign at the primary entrance is how that would be done.
And so if we have an exit, I don't really know how that would shake out or whatever. I know there's two on Congress, I think, entrances into that property. Is there one out on Ridge as well, or no? Is there entry exit outside of Congress?
Yes.
Is it on?
There's, actually, total 4.
Okay. So I don't know if maybe, because obviously you would want signage at those areas, especially with big rigs coming in and out of there and potentially going in. I don't know if it'd be one way in, just one way out.
Well, the signage we're talking about here is the, welcome to the RV park. So it'd be the large main entrance.
Right. And then there wouldn't be any sign at the exit.
If that's just for exit, they probably wouldn't want to welcome here because then they might have people going.
Right. No, I get that. As far as identifying as a exit to RVs and stuff come out of there. And again, I don't know. I just want to make sure we are.
Those directional signs are, I believe, later somewhere in there. I'm not sure what you're looking at there.
Somewhere directional signs.
Somewhere it talks about those directional signs. So,
but that's where it dumps out in traffic, I guess.
This is contemplating that marquee sign that here is.
Yeah, this is where you come into main entrance.
I have a question. This is general use, so this could be for any RV or area in the city that would go into this, correct?
Specific to the area this PUD applies to.
Okay, so this is just
This is a
specific to the
unique-
one piece of property. Okay, that was one
piece of
question
zoning.
I had. Thank you very much. I have more questions, but that's good. Start.
The next one, under 6, utilities and refuse disposal, recreational vehicle parks shall be required to connect to water and sewer. So I know from my limited camping experience, some sites have full hookups, some they hold in a tank, and there's a main facility where you have a dump out station. I want to make sure that what we're saying here, are we saying the park in general has to be hooked up to water and sewer, and that could mean that maybe they don't offer, or is this saying that each site has to have water and sewer hookups, or is this saying that just the park itself and how that gets distributed within the park develops that site plan?
That's part of the site.
Okay, so this wouldn't preclude that from,
Right.
not having individual hookups, but just a dump out station. Okay. I think, those are my comments I had. And any further ones from you guys?
Yeah,
You know?
How, in the first paragraph, recreational vehicles shall not be used for permanent dwellings. How do we monitor that? Because in Florida, many people live in pull-along trailers and stuff for extended periods of time. How does that get policed? Because it's right in there as the third sentence.
So
This is private property. We can't go on there and see that, right? So how does that get?
That might be a question for you. So there's one piece of code we have that I think is currently 180 days.
There's different provisions in the code for RV parking within the city. This would be not.
So that,
This is going to be, like you said, it's going to be a business. Assuming they get the pet that they're seeking. So there'll be the same limitations on that business that there would be in other business when it comes to code enforcement and what the code officers could or could not walk on and see or do.
But this is private property,
Right.
so
Like your
so the
house.
code officer can't go on there.
Depending on
So how do we monitor that? How do we police that? Because it's written here for a reason.
I think part of the, if I may, part of our conversation was part of that will be incumbent on the owner of the property.
Well, they cannot let us on.
The agreement with the city to do what they're doing, we can put conditions on that. That might be part of that conversation. Good point.
I mean, it's private property. We can't now go on somebody's property and check their seawall. We have to get the boat and go out on the canal and check their seawall. So we can't go onto this property and check because it's also, I mean, Mr. Hubbard brought up the idea of homeless and drug use, and that's prevalent throughout the entire country. This is not just Pasco County. So we can't, people are going to be living there potentially for a long time, and how do we police that? This reduce the setback, that was a question I wrote down, was that, do we really want to do that? I don't know your property, so I don't know that, but I would want to look at that specifically with FEMA, et cetera. And what is the code for, like, a regular house? How many feet? Is there code for residences, permanent residences between houses? I'm sure there is.
it would
I
be
just don't
10
know what
foot.
it
We
is.
have 5 foot setback on each
it's,
property line.
Well, it's 15 feet, but it could be 7 feet, 7.5 feet on one side. It could be 8 on the other. It could be 5 on one and 10 on the other, 15 on the side, and I believe it's 25 in the back.
So 15 feet
but
between dwellings?
roughly, it could be, I mean, you could be 10 on one side, and you could be 20 on the other side. It's 15 foot setback, but it could be broke up. The way the code is written, it could be 7.5 or 5 foot on one side, could be 7.5 on the other side, could be 10 foot on the other side.
I think your question is what's the minimum distance, right?
Yeah,
'Cause
I mean,
what-
for regular permanent
and that would be
residents. I mean,
10, right? Because you'd have 5 foot on each side property line. It'd be 10 foot.
The way the code says, the way that the ordinance is written for the zoning that we have here in the city is 15 feet with a minimum of 7.5 on one side. I believe it off the top of my head, that's the way it's written.
So you can go 5 foot off your property line, but if your neighbor is 5 foot, you actually have to be 10 foot off?
Correct. Well,
Really?
no, you'd be 10 foot between the two structures if you did it that way. But most of them aren't doing it that way.
What's the 15 foot you're referencing?
Let me get back to you.
Okay.
So because I want to quote you the right
Okay.
one. I don't have it right off the
And
top of my head.
because I would think a travel trailer that is, we would need to be similar, at least minimum, not closer.
When you're dealing with a single family residence, you're dealing with individual property lines.
Correct.
In this right here, this is one big piece of property.
Right.
So with an RV compared to a single family residence is two totally different animals.
Okay.
So you can set the parameters which way you want, because a permanent structure of a single family residence is just that, it's a permanent structure. An RV is not, it's transient. So it'll move, come and go as it pleases. So you can set the setbacks on the sides and the rear however you want in the PUD for an RV.
Okay.
Because it's kind of like a supplement to the R1 code. this is going to be a supplement to the 8-month code.
And you had mentioned, increasing it from 8 to, whatever. We also have in our code that I think it's 60% of the property has to be, what's the word?
Impervious and impervious.
Thank you. So I would also think that, I'm sure SwiftBud being involved, that would also be followed, correct?
Those things all come out. And like City Manager said, once you get a site plan in and everything is laid out the way it goes, because I'm sure that Mr. Todd's property's got some wetlands out there that's got to be associated with as well. This right now is just giving us a guideline to get to that.
And tent camping is allowed on this? Is there any numbers? Is it specific, or can it all be tents?
So the way it's written right now, it allows for one per RV. So
you could have an RV and a tent on the same lot, little thing.
If you were tenting, you would take up that one space that would be an RV. That would be your position. So since it's 8, right now 8 per acre, in an acre you could have
8 tents. Okay.
There was some other stuff in there about awning, temporary stuff that you could have with your campsite.
That was all. Thank you.
Anything else? Do I have any? Yeah, I don't know if I signed up. Would anybody else like to speak for the public? Show hands. Matt, welcome.
8301 Congress, Matthew Todd. Thank you for the privilege to make a comment. Addressing the councilman and council lady, as far as it comes to like worrying about explosions and stuff, keep one main thing in mind. We're not looking to be a thorn in the city's side. We're looking to try to generate income for the city in the benefit of the city. We want to be partners with the city. We don't want to be a thorn in the city's side. With the property the way it sits now, you deal with homeless, and the city's not generating nothing out of it. If it stays like it is, you gain nothing out of it. As far as explosives with campers, you have a valid point there, sir. But keep this in mind, and the same with permanent residents there. Nobody wants that because that creates problems. As owner of multiple places that I have, and with the people that wanting to purchase the property, they have guidelines that they have to go by. And that regulates you with the insurance to be able to get insurance to basically safety check for the propane on the campers and all that stuff. All that when it comes in has to meet the property owner's guidelines or they can't come in. And the same where it comes to someone wanting to try to drag up there permanently, nobody wants that. We don't want this to be a nuisance for the city. I deal with homeless. I don't call the police department because I don't want the police to be a nuisance to the police department, and it creates problems of worrying about people setting the woods on fire and stuff to that aspect. We're trying to create an asset for you guys, and a destination is what we're trying to do. And we're willing to work with you in any way, shape, or form. And I appreciate the opportunity for you to for listening to me. Thank you. I appreciate it.
Thanks, Matt. Anyone else like to speak? Welcome.
My name is Lisa Freund, and I'm for the 8301 Congress Street. We're the developers. If this gets passed, what we wanted to bring to you is we want to bring you a professional site plan that's created by people that do this for a living. So we can't give you that until it's allowed. And we've already been in contact with the police department, the fire department, and have to have hydrants every so many feet, and working with all kinds of city officials to what's the rules. But in order to move anything forward, we want to give you a site plan, but we're in a little bit of a limbo, waiting on your approval that we can even provide you with that site plan that you can approve. So thank you for your time.
Thank you. Anyone else? And this is what we're looking at here is creating the framework that would allow this type of thing in the city. And then after we have that framework in place, obviously then developers, as they are, would be able to come in and do that. Again, this is a PUD just for that specific area. So,
This also, yes, that's that specific area, but this also sets precedents for other areas. So we need to make sure that this is right. Because what is here, although is that one piece of property, the next person that comes in that wants to set something up like that in another area will use this as setting precedent.
Right. If we
So
wanted to have
we
another
need to
one,
make sure this, although I understand that this is for the one piece of property, this has to be right.
Yeah, no, I
And
agree.
that's going to be time consuming because we want to get it right. We don't want to get it wrong.
Yeah, and just to clarify too, that PUD, let's say there is another down the line that comes in, that PUD wouldn't necessarily have to mimic this. It could have its own set of rules as well. PUD, that's the beauty of a PUD is you can tailor it for that specific area. If it's 5 acres, I guess. So it doesn't necessarily have to be the exact same. Maybe it would be more restrictive or whatever, depending on, because we didn't want the same type of development as we have on the Congress property. And it's unique. It's the one thing that Matt had brought up is obviously instead of just changing Ag 1 zoning, and obviously it's kind of the same thing. We have just that one Ag 1 area. But let's say we grow the city and we pick up some more Ag 1 property. If we would have changed this in Ag 1 zoning, that would open the opportunity for that type of development to happen in those other Ag 1s. This doesn't allow that. This is specific for this particular property. And if we wanted to mimic this on another property, we could pick it up and apply it to another one, or we could pick it up, apply it, and make some tweaks to change it. However, so it's a good tool to be able to make specific zoning areas that only that particular property has the ability to leverage. Make sense? Any questions? Okay, we'll move on to item number. You want to go back to?
I'm ready.
Okay, we can go back to item number 4 now.
Before my computer died, I did confirm per your procedures, one or more council persons can be on a committee as long as they don't make up the majority, which I think is what you said. So and I don't know the numbers, so I'll let you guys figure that out at the CAC. And I see nothing that prohibits a person on a committee being on another committee that's non-council, just a general.
Yeah. One question that I do have on that, while you're on that topic, hopefully you don't need your computer, but in the case of the CAC, 9 members, so that would say that basically four members could be on there because that would make up the majority. My question comes: let's say we have 4 of the council members on the CAC, and 2 of the other 5 don't show. So then it's actually during that meeting, council does make a quorum. Does that mean you can't do business, or?
The way it doesn't go that far in the wording, right?
Yeah.
So the wording says that you can serve, but you can't constitute the majority. Does it talk about whether you can have a quorum? Because some people aren't. It doesn't go that far.
That would be the danger, I
Yeah.
guess, of having that.
That might be,
because
but-
if only your council members show up and you
Right.
have a quorum,
Yeah. You still have the quorum, but then really you have council. But it is noticed to be the meeting that it's to be the CAC meeting, not a council meeting. You could get gray if that happened. Yeah.
Another caveat to that is why would we want to have a lot of council on there? This is a citizens advisory board. I think it needs to be the majority citizens that are not on council. So that's my opinion.
no, I don't have a problem with that at all. But if somebody, if for instance they want to stay, I mean, we need to maybe we need to change that. Maybe we need to state in the charter that we are.
I was going to say we just did the CAC resolution, but we can always modify it
Right.
again.
Maybe we need
if we
specific,
need to.
only one council member per committee or something, we can do that. But right now, it's,
Well, right now, the charter for the CAC says only one council person.
no.
My computer died. I can't answer. We just did that, and I can't.
Yeah, I know.
Well, and I did not look at that. I just looked at the city's charter about whether it can be on multiple committees.
We'll have to look into that.
Yeah,
but
we just did that. So it's
I think it says one council member. I think. I don't have it
I
on.
don't-
Unfortunately.
I'm not sure. I know it didn't used to. I don't think the changes were. I didn't bring it either, but,
I lied. I have it.
did you not bring your power cable? I guess I got
it was
plugged in.
back in the bag.
Oh.
I didn't think you guys wanted to take a break for me to do that.
Matt, you get a good joke? No?
Not whatsoever.
Yeah,
I'll read it quickly, but I don't see that. Let me- If you want to go on, I'll read it, and we can, I don't want to keep holding everybody up.
Okay, so item number 4, appointment of boards or members to boards, committees. The comprehensive land use committee, myself is put in, as well as Denise McKenzie. So open up for motion and discussion.
Motion to approve Mr. Hoover and Ms. McKenzie to the comprehensive land board.
A second.
I'll second.
Yeah. So a motion and a second. Any further discussion? Anyone from public like to speak? Seeing no hands put to vote, all in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed? Motion carries. Move on.
Yeah, I don't see any limitations on this
Okay.
at this time.
So it might be something we want to, if,
I mean, obviously, the intent, as Mr. Rodriguez said, and here, the goal is to have varying views and different people. So that may be something you want to address.
yeah, I
My
mean,
opinion is to keep it with one person and let the majority be citizens.
and I don't disagree with that. I don't think that we should have majority council on these committees, but technically it's possible. So like when I was elected, I resigned. Didn't technically have to, but I'd rather focus my area somewhere else. So, okay, moving on to item number 7, Tampa Bay Regional Planning Council, development of the Tampa Bay Coastal Master Plan. I'll pass it to Mr. Cobbler for introduction.
Thank you. A representative of the Tampa Bay Regional Planning Council reached out to the city to inquire about the city's interest in becoming a collaborator with the Planning Council in their efforts to develop a Tampa Bay Coastal Master Plan. The regional planning is one of 120 entrants selected by NOAA to submit a full application for their climate resilience regional challenge. Tampa Bay Regional Planning is seeking $2 million for the project, which will likely be a 4-year project. The plan will equip the region with a prioritized list of feasible restoration and risk reduction project concepts, both structural and non-structural. They'll serve as guidance to equitably address the many challenges posed by high tide, flooding, storm surge, rainfall-related flooding, and future sea level rise. The plan will be designed for local governments in the Tampa Bay region, so participation is essential for these projects' success. Tampa, St. Pete, Oldsmar, Pinellas, Hillsborough, Crystal River, Pasco, and others are already involved. Once the plan is completed, identified projects within the plan will have a better chance of receiving funding through state and federal programs. At this time, the regional planning is asking 2 things from the city. First, if the city would like to become a collaborator for the project, the responsibilities are outlined in one of the attachments that shows the difference between being a partner and being a collaborator. Secondly, they would ask that we send a letter of support showing our interest in collaborating in the development of the Coastal Master Plan. When this came up and why I acted very quickly, because this happened last week, actually, after the agenda was already put together. I think what they're looking to do aligns with a lot of what I believe we're looking to do, mainly to address our stormwater issues, as well as look to protect our properties along the coastline, inland of the coastline, from any type of sea level rise, as well as storm surges that come along on occasional process. I see this collaboration gives us the ability to seek more money in other avenues we may not have been able to seek if we weren't a part of it. So I saw an alignment of our priorities, and I wanted to make sure I got it to you in a timely manner. They need this relatively quickly. I think before the end of the month, I would need to put that letter together and get it to them.
I say move, send that letter. Let's get involved.
And let me just say that right now there's no financial cost to the city in doing this. I should have pointed that out, other than staff time spent towards working with them once they get into the actual planning process. But again, I see that as something that I probably would be doing anyways in other ways. So I think it's really not going to have an impact on the city financially.
Yeah, they had reached out to me, and I forwarded this on to Matt to look into. Obviously, I fully support having a voice in this process, and it goes a long way with what we're trying to do with the city of Port Richey as well. So I was hoping that you guys would be in agreement with that as well. So
Very much on board.
thank you. Any further discussion? Anyone public like to speak? Seeing none, we'll move on.
Was that a consensus then?
That's a consensus. 3 consensus. Next up is item number 8, approval of purchase request for CAT 239D3 compact track loader. I'll pass that to Mr. Copper for introduction.
For the city council's consideration is the approval to purchase a CAT 239D3 compact track loader from Ring Power Corporation for $62,982. This machine is compact with effortless maneuverability. I feel like I'm reading a commercial now all of a sudden. Perfect for fitting into tight spaces. It's used to fill a wide variety of tasks, including but not limited to lifting and moving large amounts of dirt. The CAT 239D3 has a variety of attachments to purchase, for example, compact roller, mulcher, brush pile, forklift, trencher, and the loader will be utilized for public works and utility projects. And I don't know, Sal, if you want to add to that, or if you want Daryl to come forward and add to that.
Yes, I got some additional information I want to pass out to council, if that's okay.
I should say as he's doing that, so originally in the budget for this year, in the CIP, the DPW was going to be purchasing a number of trucks. As you know, our new Director of Public Works came in after the budget process was already taken place. As he's looked at our equipment, he's pretty comfortable with not replacing those trucks, and feels that this piece of equipment will give us the ability to do more things in-house and achieve some of the goals that we have in beautifying and working efficiently and effectively in both the utility and public works operations.
My question was, what have we been doing about this?
That question, what have we been doing?
Yes, I mean,
Replacing something?
No, it's not. No, this would be addition to, just the, to the equipment that we have now. The backhoe, of course, is one of the pieces of equipment that would compare to this, but this loader is, much smaller, very easy to maneuver in, like the description said, into smaller spaces. If I wanted to distribute mulch throughout the mulch yard without having to take half the fence down because the backhoe is, a certain size, this machine can, is more maneuverable to get inside. With the attachments that I handed out all to you, all those attachments would fit onto this machine, which makes it pretty much versatile to cover pretty much anything. The roller can be used for pavement. The shredding attachment would be used for the brush pile that we currently have right now, which the company that we've paid in the past 2.5 years about $39,000 uses the exact same machine with a shredding attachment on the front. This would be, instead of paying out a company on the outside, we would be able to do this in-house if and when and anytime that we would need to do it. A lot of our jurisdiction up north, a lot of the properties are, the mains and the meters are behind the homes. We're hoping that this machine would help us get closer to some of those main breaks and issues that are behind the yards where there's a lot of fencing and a lot of obstructions in those properties. Unfortunately, my public works director had to step out. He was here earlier, but he got called to a sewer emergency. This was one of his choices of his early evaluation of the fleet and equipment that we have. He mentioned this to me to move forward on with discussions between the finance director and city manager. He has the money within the penny for Pascal line item of purchasing. He was going to purchase other equipment that was in that budget, but he feels that this piece of equipment that can be used for, especially for the development that we want to do in Ellsworth Park, our other parks, both our departments can use this machine. The attachments, instead of having to buy them, they're readily, we can rent them instead of having to buy them separately. If we find that one of the attachments, for instance, the one that would, uses for the brush pile, if we're using that and renting that more often, we'll probably bring that attachment to council in the near future and say, well, instead of renting this every time, let's just buy this particular attachment. But, augers, the roller for pavement, other attachments we can rent and attach to this machine for any job that we need. So it's, in his opinion, it's an addition to the equipment that we have that we utilize for both departments and help them with a numerous amount of tasks. So,
do we have a trailer to pull it?
yes, technically we have a trailer right now that we transport it. We have a mini excavator that unfortunately it just serves as a mini excavator. It only has a front bucket that's used to excavate, as opposed to this machine. You can pretty much attach any of those attachments that I handed out to council can be hooked up to the front of this machine.
So basically, this could save manpower time and some money.
Absolutely.
I mean, over an extended period of time.
Well, and just like I said, the past 2.5 years alone in the spreadsheet that I provided, we spent almost $40,000 mulching with that, and that's the same exact machine with the mulching shredding attachment on front. I didn't have I have pictures in the packet of the machine, but like I said, as far as the comparison, the company AJ uses the same exact type of loader, and that would save us money right there, just doing that one job. So this machine can be used across the board for any amount of applications.
When we were talking about mulching, 14 meetings
Yes.
long, didn't we ask about buying a mulcher?
We've talked about, at one time I talked about piggybacking a mulching contract with Newport Richey.
No, not a separate person, a machine to do it, like this. Did we not talk about it?
We've talked about it.
Okay.
It's been talked about that we can look into something on our own, and this is a step in that direction.
So, this is $39,270 that we have spent since 2021 for mulching.
Yes, the past 2.5 years.
And you're saying this, with this loader, and does this have the mulching attachment in this price that you gave us?
He is using the same equipment to do that. Now,
So that's
Well, the same equipment, but
$39,000.
are we buying that mulching attachment as well?
we would like to, the thing is that we would like to rent it when we need it to do that particular application. If we find out that we're using it more often, we want to bring that to council to purchase. But these attachments, some of them are they vary in price. So they could be anywhere between $10,000 and $15,000 each. So we're not going to inundate you with every single one of those attachments, and say, look, we're going to spend $100,000 in attachments. No, what we want to do is be able to use this machine in the different areas that we want to, and then if we decide that it's more applicable to go ahead and buy this attachment, then we'll go ahead and bring that to council later on.
A specific example on a mulcher, what's that mulch attachment? Cost to rent. Well, actually, what's the cost of it? What's its rental price?
I don't have the total price of what it would be to purchase it. We have to rent daily would be $900 a day. Weekly would be $1,830, and monthly would be just under $5,000 to rent that attachment. So once again, we would like to see. We would compare how often we would use it to any of these attachments, how often we would use them, and see if it's worth purchasing or renting. So a comparison would be done as we started using it.
So based on this $40,000 worth of mulching data we have here, obviously if we're renting that at $900 a day, it could eat up that savings pretty quickly. So it's probably a non-issue. It's more, we're buying the equipment without that mulcher. Right. So, and I get the point, it's a very flexible machine, can do a lot of things with all these different attachments, and we have the flexibility to rent those, to buy them. That's something we do a lot by. The one question I do have is, as we have some things that we're doing some things with, is it, if we were to invest in this, is it possible that we could get rid of something else because this will meet the needs of that additional equipment? Sell it, if you will.
We could do that. We could surplus one of our other pieces of equipment. If it turned out that this was being used more than, let's say, our mini excavator or the backhoe or anything, another piece of equipment like that, we can sell it. We actually still have, when we purchased the new backhoe earlier last year, we still have the second one, so we can also surplus that older one now to lean towards the cost of this.
Rough idea of what we'd get for that?
Rough idea, maybe, the backhoe is about 10 years old. Maybe 20,000. I'd have to dig into that, but that's off the top of my head.
Just because, a backup, or, backhoe is invaluable, especially when you're doing water and sewer repairs.
Sure.
So I probably wouldn't go down that road.
Well, and I guess the question is this, can you do backhoe work with this particular, is there attachment for that? No.
Not the type of work that the backhoe.
Right, so I wouldn't think that would be, and what I'm asking is, do we have equipment that this could theoretically, with attachments, replace that we don't?
I mean, that small excavator would probably be
The mini excavator, you can attach an excavating tool to the front of this, and you can attach a front bucket, to move and relocate all types of material. You can attach basically a grabbing attachment to relocate, move pipes, trees, any type of obstructions like that. I've seen, personally, I recently had a large utility rehab about 2 streets down from my home, and this machine was out there every day. They used it all from start to finish, especially with the street sweeping attachment that you can also put on. It'll street sweep the street, clean everything off when it's done. They used it from the start to finish on that particular job. So. But I just wanted to point out the aspect of how much we've spent already on the same piece of equipment at our brush pile, and to cut costs, we only asked that person to come out, 1, maybe 2 days, because we don't want to exceed costs and use up the budget on that. But if we had this machine full time, then we could be able to go out to that brush pile whenever we saw fit. After every time we brought the brush in, we wouldn't have to rely on the company's availability and, of course, their cost. So, and like I said, that's just one application. This machine can be used for, you wanted to set fences, you can use it to saw cut streets. It comes with a saw attachment. So, many different aspects for both departments all the time. And like I said, I don't want to make council think that the next thing I'm going to do is, start bringing attachments at every single meeting. But no, what we're going to do is weigh the difference between what we'll be using constantly and what we'll be using few and far between.
And then do we look at possibly, I know that you buy used equipment like this, we look at that at all?
I've never made a habit of purchasing. I mean, the city's not in a habit of purchasing used equipment, so it's not something that I look to do. Every piece of equipment that either the city has bought, either vehicle or whatnot, has been new across the board. So I did not explore buying a used piece of equipment, because of course you buy a used piece of equipment, you buy used problems.
Mm-hmm. Sure. No, and obviously always better to get brand spanking new stuff and with warranties and whatnot, but
it'll come with a warranty, of course, when you purchase it. You have that, have those options. But with used, you don't.
So the cost would come out of Penny for Pasco, out of the utility department.
Yes.
So it is, the piece of equipment is not budgeted, but the money is in the budget for this.
Yes, there's money set aside for this, but in his evaluation, he felt this piece of equipment would better serve the utility and public works staff than, I believe, what was slot. I'm sorry. There was like a large 4-door vehicle that they were going to purchase, or another dump truck that they don't need at this time.
Okay.
So they felt that this versatile piece of equipment would serve the crews more important than buying another dump truck that we don't need at this time.
So this
These
basically
monies
is
were set
replacing
aside to
something
go-
else that was
Yes.
basically there.
Yes,
Okay.
it's just basically prioritizing what the needs are for the department, for the city, and the projects that we have slotted in the near future.
Okay, thank you.
I do have one sign up. Dave Mueller, welcome.
Dave Mueller, 5439 Blue Point Drive. I appreciate going into the detail, Sal. 'Cause it puts us in a different light, and it sounds like it's an opportunity to offload costs in the mulching area. But there's a bigger picture here, too. I took the time to go through the fixed assets that we have on the books, and there's actually 3 devices that I found, and this was as of back in September, October timeframe. There's a Cat excavator that was acquired in 2016. There's also another Cat 908 with a bucket acquired in 2015, and I believe the backhoe is a Cat 420E that was referenced by the city manager there back in 2009. What's missing from the picture, though, really is the intended use and how does this interact with these other devices. It sounds like from the attachment of the mulching attachment, certainly could maybe want to add that if that's going to if that's going to replace a mulching contract for 35 grand and a mulching attachment is 15 grand, you got unlimited use of that thing, and it might be wise to acquire that at the same time if that's one of the intended uses. Although my brother's in the tree business, and if you're going to mulch, you really need a chipper. So is that something that needs to be considered as well? It's something that we've got a lot of good information here. I'd like to see it presented in a way that arrives to the right conclusion, and I think what it's doing is asking for more questions, but questions are good. It gives you an opportunity to go through and really understand how this product is going to be used and how it will benefit the city. It sounds like it's something that probably needs to be acquired, and I'm thinking that you might be trying to sell yourself short and not asking for the mulch device at this time. Thank you.
Thanks, Dave. That's all I had signed up. Anybody else like to speak? Cindy, welcome.
Cynthia Malin, 5446 Blue Point Drive. My question is just for clarification, because I couldn't understand when you say mulch, is it the mulching that we're doing now, which is unusable for anyone else, or is it a better mulch that it produces?
Can I answer?
Yeah, absolutely.
It would be the same process, but the benefit of this is that we would be able to spend more time, hopefully be able to refine the pilot we're doing now, as opposed to only having that company out for a day, doing a job as quick as he can within the 8 or 10 hours that he's out there, and then, go for the amount of money that we're paying him.
Right.
So we would be able to go over that same pile as often as we'd like, because now we have the machine readily available to us.
So you could reduce it down to usable mulch?
I would hope so. Well, constantly using that is the goal, because once again, I've stated to the council in the past, we only have X amount of space in there. Brush demand is a monthly constant. So we're trying to do everything we can to accommodate the city and this pile at the same time.
Right.
So
again, saving time and space, because you said you were running out of space, that I would say that would make a good argument, like Dave said, to go ahead and purchase the mulcher with it. If you could possibly make it more usable and also reduce your load, because you said you were running out of room when we had this discussion months ago. No.
we didn't want to put too much in front of council. It's like we want to do incrementally, one at a time. But that purchase is on mind to go forward with, and that's, that would be the next step. But like I said, we wanted to go ahead and determine the difference between the renting cost as far as the purchase. With that attachment tacked onto this, we wanted to acquire the machine. Once you have that base machine, all the other applications are readily available.
We can put that on next budget season.
Do what?
We can put that on next budget season. I move
Thanks,
to-
Eddie.
Oh,
One second. Is there, just so I know, is there any benefit into purchasing that with the machine as far as we get a price break on it, or it doesn't matter if we purchase it now or later, it's going to be what it is?
This actual purchase is done through the Florida State contract, and this was for the base loader only. So we didn't, the attachments weren't included with the state contract acquiring the machine. So that's why, and the price that's been quoted by CAT is lower than what the state contract price is.
Okay.
So we really kind of wanted to jump on this, given the benefit that Ring Power CAT is offering us the base machine for a better price than the actual Florida State contract states.
And I guess it'd probably be prudent to at least rent it one time to see how it does before we buy it anyway. So
And that's exactly what we have in plan. Plan to do.
good motion.
I motion to approve the purchase of the CAT 239D3 compact track loader.
Second. A motion second for discussion. All in favor, signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed? Motion carries. Next up is item number 9, approval of 36-month Spectrum bandwidth contract. I pass that to Mr. Copper for introduction.
For City Council's consideration is a request to approve a contract from Spectrum Enterprises for the internet bandwidth for City Hall, Police Department, Water Plant, Public Works Utility, Trailer. The city's been with Spectrum for several years now. Still, due to significant bandwidth change from 100 megabytes to 1 gigabyte for a minimal monetary increase of $20 over what the current city billing is, the city has to enter a new agreement for 36 months. Staff recommends approving the new deal with Spectrum Enterprises.
So is there a bandwidth attachment for that? I'm just kidding. I said, is there a
Mulcher,
bandwidth
it comes
attachment
with
for
a
that?
They're throwing in a mulcher.
So I opened up for motion and discussion. Obviously, we're talking about $20 a month to increase our bandwidth tenfold. So I think it's be a good idea to get the
that's
staff
way too
and George
expensive.
specifically some extra megabytes.
Way too expensive, $20.
Motion to approve the 36-month Spectrum bandwidth contract.
Second.
A motion and second. Further discussion? Anyone from public like to speak? See no hands up, put it to vote. All in favor, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Next up, we have item number 10, surplus of City Hall information technology equipment. I'll pass it to Mr. Copley for introduction.
City staff has reviewed and cataloged all items listed as having no net value. Equipment will be disposed of by property means in consideration of the condition of the hardware.
Open up for motion discussion. I'd seen this and there's stuff there. I wanted to, one, just bring a note that we probably need to look at how we do this type of surplus. And the reason I bring that up is Sal pointed out that the way that the code reads is there's no value in there. And so if a monitor breaks, it basically has to go in a storage room and it has to be surplused. It's just throwing it out because it was partial city funds. So I'd like to, at some point, maybe look at that and see, do we really want to burden staff as well as us with throwing away this nominal value things that are actually broken. So I think something we should probably look at going forward so we don't have to go through this process for nominal type items. The second part of that, obviously, when I think our current arrangement, they come pick it up, we don't get anything for it, we don't pay anything to dispose of it, but there is probably some value at some of those things. Is there opportunity that we could look at, putting the stuff on eBay or having an auction or something where we maybe recoup some funds on this? Maybe it's not worth the time, but there's opportunity there. There's probably a couple things in there that could bring some amount of money to the city.
What do you have your eye on?
No, I don't. No.
I'm only kidding.
But my key person, as I saw the pictures, there's probably, there's printers out there. And I think, for example, I think you said maybe the scanner was inoperable and so on, but it prints probably okay. Maybe it needs ink. I mean, they don't necessarily have value to the city, but would have value to somebody out there that could bid on it, and we get nothing for it now. So if we get $10 a printer, that's $10.
What is the community standard? What do other cities do? Tarpon, Newport Richie. What is the standard? Is it worth our time and effort to do this? Or
Well, most other municipalities have set limits for surplus. Honestly, items like this wouldn't even be approached to council. It's, there's some surplus, 5, 10, 15,000. Basically, items that are brought to council are usually,
big ticket items.
Large big ticket items, yes. And, items like this, is basically the discretion of staff, the city manager, and just, record keeping going forward. But, it's, as I explained to the mayor, our current code, there is no dollar limit on our code. So technically, this pen would have to be surplused because I purchased this pen using city dollars to, write with. So as soon as it ran out, I would have to just put it in a bucket, and that bucket got full. I brought it to council and get it approved. But that's our current code.
That's ridiculous.
Yeah. But I mean,
I understand.
You understand that, but
and here's the thing.
So what do we need to do to change it?
Well, this city has used everything to the very, very, very end. That's been that way. We got a printer. If we can't use it, we don't want it. I'll guarantee no one else out there wants it either. I'm looking at all this. My question: where in the hell are you storing this stuff? We don't have the real estate.
In his closet. He cleaned out the closet, remember?
So I agree with the mayor, and thank you for bringing that up. That's a great idea. Why are we waiting to something like this? If you got a printer that breaks down, toss the thing.
But we try and wait for items to accumulate. Because once again, you say to just go ahead and throw it out. Technically, I'm not allowed to do that.
Okay, so how can we change it?
Direct me to draft an ordinance.
Can you please draft an ordinance and change this?
Can we
Thank
do
you.
something?
That's what I was looking for. What do we
That
do?
was a great idea, Mayor. That was a great idea. But my one last concern, I noticed that there's laptops on here. Have we gone through, has our IT specialist gone through to remove any?
Yes.
Thank you.
Yeah, and I think
You've done it twice, right? I mean, you've gone through it 3 times?
Actually, we remove them, and then we take them and they get, by the recycle company, the center punch the drives to crack the hard drives, mangle the electronics so that there's no recoverable data.
Perfect. Love hearing that.
And it's also certified. We get a paperwork from them saying that we turned in X number of drives to be destroyed, and they've destroyed them. Council, that's
Our IT specialist, George Olbrich. He's very passionate about this particular item, being that he spends a lot of time working things out constantly with staff equipment, trying to circumvent pieces of equipment. He has gone the extra mile to fix items, dissected some of it to make something else work. He has done that, and I will back in saying it that I've seen him do that many times just to get a user, running. These items are, we all have desktop printers at home, and once that plastic gear goes, you call that manufacturer for that gear, but by the time you go through that, you might as well just go to Walmart and Best Buy and get yourself another one. It's just,
it costs more to fix than that light.
And sometimes your printing cartridges, your printer can be that champ printer for 10 years, but all of a sudden now they're discontinued. These items have happened, and it will continue to happen. Technology is one of those things that we just use for a year or two, and it ends up being non-useful. So, unfortunately, that's the kind of world that we in with when it comes to technology.
Motion to approve the City Hall IT equipment as surplus property and get rid of it.
second.
Motion second, further discussion? Anyone from public like to speak? I didn't see any pens in here. Now, the pens.
I didn't see pens either.
Why did we count them?
All in favor, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? The motion carries.
And we are going to look at what we can do to.
Ashley has a question.
I just want to clarify, we get consensus to have Nancy move forward with?
Yeah.
Okay, you did, and I have a follow-up question. You may not know this, sitting here, Sal had mentioned there's like usually a monetary amount.
Right.
So what are you thinking? What,
My suggestion would be see what surrounding municipalities do. I don't really know what. the bid
Community
co-
standard would be good, yeah,
Yeah.
just start.
See, just start with that.
I'm on
and
it.
we'll go from
Yes,
there.
thank you.
I'd say generally, I bet she's gonna say what I was gonna say.
That we capitalize $5,000. Any individual item, $5,000 or more. So we should definitely surplus those items.
That's again, what I was gonna say. That's kind of the rule, is whatever you capitalize is something you would have to come back to council.
Makes sense.
Very good.
Next up, item number 11, fire department surplus. That's it, Mr. Copper, for introduction.
So apparently some early winter, spring cleaning is happening. So now we move to the fire department and their equipment that they would have to surplus.
I saw a nice pair of boots in there that Linda would probably love to have in her gardening.
Go to the stable in those babies.
Open for motion or discussion.
Motion to approve the expired fire department equipment as surplus and dispose of them by proper means.
Motion second. Further discussion? Anyone from public like to comment? See no hands up, put it to vote. All in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed? Motion carries. Last up, item number 13, Florida Division of Emergency Management Hazard Mitigation Grant Program, City of Port Richey Delegation of Signature Authority.
Number
I checked it off as I was going past it. I'm sorry. Item number 12, surplus of impounded vehicles. I'll pass it to Mr. Copper.
He didn't want to be left out.
Yeah, you got to hold on to those cars just a little bit longer.
This request is for the surplus of 9 impounded vehicles that have been stored in the impound lot of the police department for 90 days or more. Registered owners were sent notifications via registered mail and not responded to retrieve their vehicles. Port Richey Police Department will send these vehicles to the Tampa Bay Machinery Auction, as is our standard practice. EMA will auction these vehicles through their standard process.
Motion to surplus the impounded vehicles.
Second. Motion second. Further discussion? Anyone from the public like to comment? See no hands, I'll put it to vote. All in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed? Motion carries. Next up, item number 13, Florida Division of Emergency Management Hazard Mitigation Grant Program, City of Port Richey Delegation of Signature Authority. I'll pass it to Mr. Coppola for introduction.
Yeah, so staff has submitted applications to FDEM requesting funding from the HMGP, and don't ask me what that one stands for, to require lift station generators and replace the roofs on City Hall, Police Department, water plant, and the Public Works utility trailer. They're asking that we allow myself to sign for this project contracts on behalf of the City of Port Richey.
Open up for motion or discussion.
Motion to approve the Emergency Management Hazardous Mitigation Grant Program.
Second. Motion second. Further discussion? Anyone from the public like to comment? See no hands, I'll put it to vote. All in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed? Motion carries. That's all our agenda items we have. Last up is the old business. Anything from old business you guys like to discuss?
No,
No. Okay.
not at the moment, thank you.
Okay. Then look for a motion.
Motion to adjourn.
Second. Motion second. All in favor signify by saying aye. Aye.